time to think about political survival and how you progress within the universe. The approach we take when building a world like Arrakis is we kind of have to think about where are the stark lines and how do we draw these epic spaces? How do we make them feel huge and the player feels dwarfed by everything they see around them?
The intention was every time we saw the desert, it was highly brutal, and if you went out into the desert without the right protection and without the right knowledge, that it was sure death. If we looked at references from some of the hottest deserts in the world, the visuals that we saw from those deserts weren't enough. We needed this world to be even harsher.
To osadzenie na pustyni to jest całkiem spoko pomysł, no bo to jest właściwie taka dobre podwaliny pod survival, nie? Bardzo dobre.
Allowing us to really understand the vision that Denis Villeneuve has for the world and his characters and the way he's grounding Arrakis. But of course, a game is a much larger scale, so we need to expand upon that vision. We have our own army of concept artists who are sending things back and forth with Legendary all the time. One of my best moments on this project so far actually was I got to go and visit the set of the first film with a group of the people from Funcom, the art directors, the lead artists, and we got to walk around in the actual sets that they had built in classic old school set building, massive palaces.
Kurde, co ty gadasz? Że dobrze zrozumiałem, że oni, twórcy gry, mogli się przejść po tych wszystkich lokacjach, które były do filmu przygotowane? Zajebiście. No bo nie siedzą mi zebra, nie siedzą mi, ale pod survival dobre podwaliny, nie?
The most exciting aspect for me is the fact that you can take what you've enjoyed and loved and you can build your own stories and your own places, and that to me is the ultimate goal, is to have, you know, complete control.
Using Unreal 5 to create a game is obviously one of the better choices. Unreal 5 gives us
na Unrealu Engine 5 gierka jest postawiona, 5.2 wersja dokładniej.
Lumen technology allows proper light bouncing. If I had to say one thing in the game that really benefits from Lumen, it's player crafted spaces. In our case,
nie Derwis, oglądniemy sobie tylko ten filmik i wracamy do epoka.
And the window lets in natural light, and the light will fill the room in a way that feels real. And that technology hasn't existed before. Before Unreal 5, in the olden days, you had to use what we called the LOD system. And that meant that you had to create assets at different LOD levels, so it doesn't slow down everybody's computer. With Unreal 5, we have this new technology called nanite that breaks things down into the right amount of polygons at the right distance. So for us, as a company, this has made an amazing difference to the visual detail of the world. It allows us to create one really amazing looking cliff piece, for example, and then doesn't matter how far away or how close we place it, it performs well and it looks great.
Where Unreal worked for us on Dune was that it was a fantastic pre-production and planning tool. On Dune Part 2, we had some very complicated scenes, and we were able to previs all the way from Budapest what the light was going to be doing well in advance. It's the only tool that I've used, I would say, in my 25 years of shooting that is able to be used across a wide spectrum of films by different types of filmmakers.
The most iconic creature in the Dune universe is the sandworm of Arrakis. And so we've tried to represent this in the game in multiple ways. So as a player who steps on the open sand, you hear the hiss of the sand in the distance as the sandworm begins to move towards you. And when it gets close, you hear the roar as it erupts from the sand nearby. And at that point, you have only seconds to live if you cannot make it to rocky ground. So this is your first experience with sandworms. And these are the little ones. When you go into the deep desert, when you're harvesting spice, the giant ring-mouth sandworms that we've seen in the film will erupt underneath the spice blows and suck harvesters and equipment down into the sand beneath them. There's really only one rule. The sandworm will always come.
Rozumiem, czyli to jakby to będzie taka mechanika, której będzie ryzyko. Im pewnie dłużej zostaniesz na tej pustyni, będziesz zbierał tą przyprawę, tym większa szansa, że lada moment pojawi się ten czerw i cię zmiecie z planszy i tyle z twojego wysiłku, nie? Mam nadzieję, że to będzie taki rodzaj hazardu, nie? Zakładu z grą.
in the beginning with survival open world crafting games. And June is a combination of those legacies, bringing us forward into the future. It's the culmination of what Funcom means as a company and what we can deliver. And this legacy means that we need to really pay attention to what we're creating and how we create it for the fans. Because I think at the heart of this, there's a lot of people out there who really want to live in the universe that Frank Herbert created. And they really want to live in the visual world of the films that they see from Villeneuve. And so we need to create the gap between those two possibility spaces and create a game world where people can live out their fantasies that they've taken from June. And yes, it's a huge legacy and it feels at times extremely overwhelming, but we really hope that we can deliver something for everybody.
Wow, that was great. Creating captivating visions on the big screen and the immersive world of games, of course, both certainly come with their own unique set of challenges. And I think it's very clear that both mediums draw deeply from the seminal book that started it all. Now, of course, Villeneuve's movies have mesmerized the audiences with their adaptation of Frank Herbert's masterpiece. It's been showcasing the intricate politics, the very stunning visuals, and the harsh desert of Arrakis. And now, as we venture into the game, the challenges of bringing this rich universe to life really takes on new forms. So, here to share this exciting process with us is Joel Biles, the Chief Creative Officer for Diuna Awakening. Joel, welcome to the first ever show.
Thank you very much for having me. It's exciting to be here.
I am so excited that you're here because I get to pick your brain. I have so
Czy wiecie co, mam nadzieję, że przy tym posiedzeniu będą pokazywali fragmenty z gry czy coś, bo ja nie lubię takich gadek tylko.
Survival MMO. Two words everyone watching will be familiar with, but what's your take on that? What is a survival MMO?
Sure. So survival games are obviously a genre of games about like building yourself up from the bottom and surviving. MMOs are more about social interaction and you know how players work together to achieve big goals. And we thought, why not combine the two? You know, why don't we create a game? Because most of the survival games that are out there, they kind of, you once you get to a certain point of survival, it kind of ends, and that's kind of where you've gotten to. But what we thought was like, the universe of Dune is a perfect place with these politics and this intrigue and there's machinations that happen. So let's get players hooked on the survival and then bring them into the political survival of the Dune universe.
Let's break it down then and dive a little
Kurczę, to brzmi jakby chcieli naprawdę to na większą skalę zrobić, a nie, że 64 osoby na serwerku i tyle.
Yeah, players?
Sandstorms.
What else?
Other players. Yeah, so the player, I mean, obviously Arrakis is all about the heat and the water. So the player, first of all, needs to be searching for water. They need to stay out of the sun, stay in black shade during the daytime, travel by night.
I love it.
That's what the Fremen say, right? That's what the Kitan al-Gaib says it in the book, right? Black shade by day, travel by night. So the player needs to worry about these things, think about the sunlight, think about where they are, but they also need water because that runs out really quickly without a still suit and you die very fast. So yeah, there's lots of ways in which to get water. You can explore dew fields and eat plant fiber to try and get water out of it. After a while, you start to throw up because you can't really get too much water out of plants that way. And then the way I prefer to do it is to shoot enemies, take their blood, drink that.
You just casually dropped that right there. Okay, so we're harvesting blood or just lick some plants, whichever way you choose. You're going to stay hydrated, which is very important.
Yes.
Yeah, stay hydrated at home, in and out of game. Are there other resources I need to worry about?
Yeah, so as a player, I mean, it's a proper survival open world crafting game, right? So players will craft their entire arsenal, right? So they'll be collecting resources, they'll be collecting stone, they'll be collecting metals like copper, iron, eventually forging steel, building up the equipment that they have at home. So they'll be crafting, all their weapons, all of their gear, all of their clothing, and they can of course craft themselves a base to live in, craft machines to help
Czyli
them.
klasyka craftingu się zapowiada też na początek, poza wodą oczywiście.
Right. So there's a lot to do is what I'm hearing. Base building you just mentioned, that's obviously very exciting. I saw you guys shared a sneak peek of what a base could look like already on your TikTok channel. Very cozy. Why would I ever leave a home like that and head out into the desert? But I'm sure you guys give us plenty of reasons to do just that. Is there anything special about the base building in this game?
Yeah, so we took what we started with in Conan Exiles, our other survival game. We brought that over. Then we started to add to it, right? So we've now created a system for co-op building where you can place out holograms and other players can fill them in. So you work with your friends to build bases. You can also save your base as like an architectural blueprint that you can then sell to other players on the exchange, or you can give to your friends. So
O, to jest ciekawe.
you make something really cool. One of the things we saw
Rozumiecie, że możecie zbudować budynek, zrobić na jego podstawie schemat i ten schemat komuś sprzedać, na przykład, jeśli jesteście zajebistymi architektami.
If you could sell that to another player, that'd be cool, right? So another player might want to be able to just buy that blueprint off you and then place that out in the world and build it themselves.
Spodobała się Cizia? Nie, mnie ten gościu.
That's incredible. I absolutely love that. Well, I know my story arc is going to be architect who harvests blood occasionally, but you know, you do what you gotta do. Now that I have my basic needs all met, you know, I'm staying hydrated in some unfortunate ways, and I'm having my base. How do I protect myself and my base from the world? Like, what am I doing for combat here?
So the game has a full leveling system, right? And we do this thing we call combined arms, which is like we have melee, we have ranged, and we have abilities, and we also have vehicles. Right, so players can use any combination of these in combat, right? So it's kind of creates this interesting dynamic. So
czyli normalnie będzie można levelować postać, będzie można się strzelać, jakimiś pojazdami sterować, albo jakimiś umiejętnościami.
And you combine your, you know, so you're combining melee with abilities there, right? Or you can be a sword master and leap in with a knee charge.
O, czyli na bliski dystans też. Nie będzie tylko dodatek. Będzie normalnie można być wojownikiem na bliski dystans, koks.
Where you can shoot down on your enemies with sniper rifles and shotguns. So there's a large variety of weapons that you can craft through our intricate crafting system. In addition to these abilities that you learn as you level up your character. So you kind of have this freedom of choice, and that's really what Combined Arms is all about. It's sandbox combat. That's what we're trying to call it and what we're going for, right?
Are those hard-locked in classes, or is there like can I explore different skill trees? Like,
yes.
Can I be a swordsman or a swordsmaster and also use the voice? Is that possible?
It's absolutely possible. You just have to find the right trainer in the world who'll teach you these things. So you choose in character creation, you make.
No widzisz, Sidletto, a teraz czekamy na MMO w świecie Diuny. Patrz, co się dzieje.
That determines your set of starting abilities. But then when you play the game, you find trainers in the world. You have to do things for them, but then they'll eventually teach you some of the way, you know, the path that can take you down some of these skills and abilities. Yeah,
I love that. Okay, so lots of things to explore there as a player and avenues to take, all in order to protect myself and maybe my friends if I feel like it. What am I protecting? Like, how do I protect myself against sandworms? Like, can I fight them? Can I ride them? Like, what's the deal with them?
Sandworms are like a tension mechanic in the game. We want you to be really worried every time you walk on the sand. So you really need to think about what you're doing. So there is no way to kill or defeat sandworms. The only thing you can do, you just cannot. The only thing you can do is avoid the sandworms, right? So you craft yourself a thumper and place it out to distract a sandworm. Maybe you use it to lure a sandworm onto some friends of yours or some
friends,
depending on how
as one does.
And the other thing you can do, of course, is craft yourself a vehicle. Like we have a range of vehicles in the game, including the iconic ornithopters, and players will be able to craft these, and you'll be able to use these to, of course, traverse safely, right? If you're in an ornithopter, you fly above. If you're on a sand bike or something like that, you can move quickly across the sand. Hopefully a sandworm won't get you if you time it right.
Hopefully,
you know.
That's always hoping. I love constant looming threats.
Ciekawe, czy im się uda, bo faktycznie ta mechanika z czerwiem, to musi być coś takiego, wiecie, że trzęsiesz portami, jak tylko słyszysz to i wiesz, że to jest naprawdę duże zagrożenie.
Sure.
Can I fully go on a journey with someone and like do tasks with each other? Like, what can I do with other people?
Yeah, so I mean, hook up with your friends, join together with a grouping system. We have a ping system, so you can, you know, obviously point out things to players. You will find different roles that you can assume based on the kind of combination of abilities you want to bring with you. And then you can heal your friends, of course, get them up when they get knocked down in combat, things like that. And then, of course, you go on journeys like we have a system called the journey system. You can go on those journeys together and sort of explore the mystique of the universe. Through that we also have a contract system.
Wiecie, to wszystko jak on to opowiada, to naprawdę nie wygląda jakby to miał być jakiś, nie wiem, survival arc albo Palworld, tylko bardziej MMOs, taki klasyczny. Może nie związany z grindem, bardziej nastawiony na survival. Grind też tam będzie, ale wiecie, nie taki jak, nie wiem, w Lineage'u.
Political intrigue. How predominant is that in the game?
I mean, we want players to be able to dip into it. So you start the game kind of lost in the desert, right? And then by the end of the game, maybe you're the next Baron Harkonnen. So as you play through the game,
And who doesn't want to be him?
he's a good-looking man.
Oh yeah. Mm.
As you make your way through the game, you progress and you sort of meet these factions in the world, right? The Atreides and the Harkonnen are at war. There's a war of assassins going on, as it's called. And as a player, you decide which side you want to help, which side you want to join. Then you start to partake in missions for those factions. And eventually, yeah, you work your way up through the ranks of the factions and maybe you take on a position of power as well. So the politics are...
Widzicie, znowu, kolejna rzecz taka typowo MMORPG-owa raczej, czyli wbijanie reputacji. Dobrze, bo bałem się, że wiecie, to będzie coś w stylu 32 osoby na serwerku, albo 64 i to wszystko, nie? I serwerki trwają po miesiąc, kto to najszybciej wyfarmi się, koniec, bo deklasuje resztę i kolejny raz, i kolejny raz.
Yeah, there's this kind of idea that, yeah, like when people have the same objective, but they're on opposite sides, it becomes a race between them to achieve that objective, and they'll do all sorts of dirty things to get to the top, right?
Sounds about right.
O, będzie
Can I
PvP?
opt out of politics? Can I just live my peaceful little Swiss life in my cottage?
Absolutely. You can play however you want. I mean, the idea is to be a sandbox and allow people to approach it how they like. We have one of the rules, one of the pillars of the game is expression and customization. And that's not just about visuals, it's customizing how you want to play the game. So it's really thinking about like, well, I really like to craft and just set up my little crafting setup and sell things on the exchange to other players. So you can do that. You can basically live your life as a crafter. You can also be an architect, as we talked about. You can be a pilot, a scout. You're not really heavily involved in the fighting, but you go out and you craft maps that you sell to other players as well of the world.
Where are we currently at? Like, I know there have been betas already. How many more of those are coming? When is the next one? What's the status of development? Where are we at?
No, premiera za miesiąc.
They've been going really well. We're slowly inviting more people over time. So the game, yeah, I mean, we're not going to rush it out the door. We're going to work with our community and our players, and we're going to try and make the game as good as it possibly can be.
It takes as long as it takes, man.
It takes as long as it takes, and you got to do it well. So so we're working with our community, and yeah, betas are continuing right all the way through launch, and we're going to keep increasing the number of people in those betas, helping us stress test, yelling at us because they get eaten by sandworms, all those kind of good things.
All the good stuff. Speaking of good stuff, have there been any recent milestones you're particularly excited about, or anything you want to share about the current development?
Sure. There's a thing as a creative director I like to say that we get a few aces every time we make a project. We get to make a few creative bets. There's a thing called the shifting sands, which is one of my most exciting. One of the things that makes me most excited about the game, and that is this location in the world. It's a full PvP area, and every week a Coriolis storm sweeps in and completely alters the landscape of this area. And I got to see that working for the first time very recently with full landscape changing and people able to play, and it's exciting to see these things coming online. And I think it's something people haven't seen before in a game. So I'm excited.
Kurde, ciekawe. Strefa full PvP?
I can't wait to be part of that.
Związana tam jakieś piaski, która się zmienia cały czas dynamicznie. Cześć, Silon.
Your future player base?
Yes, thank you everybody for joining us on this journey. I hope today's show was like your first taste of spice, mildly euphoric, slightly addictive, and leaving you wanting more.
I certainly want more of that now. I'm pretty sure everyone watching as well, so remember, for a chance to get an invitation to any of the future.
Trzeba się zapisać, widzowie, na betkę. Cześć, KM.
And sign up for the beta, then head on over to Steam and wishlist the game. You can also join our Discord and follow our other socials at Diuna Awakening. Also, of course, you can keep up to date on TikTok, Instagram and YouTube.
Ale na tych wszystkich takich przebitkach gameplayowych to nie wygląda jakoś super wybitnie.
Awakening. Now,
no ale
here is the moment that I'm pretty sure everyone has been waiting for.
Drewienko takie.
A brand new gameplay trailer for Diuna Awakening.
Gameplay trailer, widzowie. Unreal 5.2.
Arrakis is a test. Few survive it.
Mam nadzieję, że będzie można mieć peta takiego. Jak ten czerw. Wydaje się, że trochę rzeczy rzeczy już przygotowali, ale nie są to jakieś puste rendery, nie? Ale wydaje się, że już trochę jest zrobionych tych rzeczy. Jeszcze PvP widzowie będzie. MMOs faktycznie to będzie taki z krwi i kości, nie survivalik.
Arrakis is a test. Few survive it.
Można walczyć wręcz.
Humans that do awaken.
Ja jestem ciekaw tej gierki. Na Steama, PS5 i na Xboxa widzowie.
Wow, Arrakis is truly the most dangerous planet in the universe. And you know what? I can't wait to go there. Now, thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned and join us on the next Diuna Awakening Direct.
Szkoda tylko, że w 720p to nagrali. No ale jest jak jest. No nie wiem, jak wrażenia widzowie? Mi się wydaje, że to może być spoko. Raz, że mają doświadczenie z Conan Exiles. 2, że fajne uniwersum. 3, że wygląda na to, że już trochę jest przygotowane, więc może to nie jest czekania na 5 lat, tylko może na rok, 2. Więc jak dla mnie interesujące to jest, widzowie, interesujące.